Welcome to the Real Estate Investment Nomad Podcast. I am your host, NathalySalas, an international real estate expert. Join me as we explore the thrilling world of global real estate. We'll uncover diverse international markets, backed by solid data and engaging insights. Each episode features expert guests from the hottest markets, providing you with the knowledge to invest wisely and successfully. Whether you are a local realtor aiming to go global or an investor curious about international opportunities, this is the podcast for you. Get ready to transform your approach and achieve global real estate success to become a real estate investment nomad. Hi, everybody. This is Nathaly with UnicornProperties for the Real Estate Investment Nomad podcast. Today, we have a Chuy here. He's our country leader for Mexico. I want to talk about why being an agent in Mexico is not as easy as you think, and here's why. Thank you for being with us.
Nathaly, thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here with all your community, with you.
Yeah, so right now we're in Quito, Ecuador. We're here in this beautiful place. We had this chance to launch Ecuador as a country, but now we're going to talk international, specific to Latin America. Mexico is a very good example of how operations work for real estate agents. I think that rolls out to almost every Latin American country, but let's focus on Mexico, on what is being like an agent there. Some of the challenges we have that many people don't know, because in the US, many things are automated. For us in Mexico, it's a little challenging. So from your perspective, as a country leader, what are the main challenges that you see agents in our organization go through, and many organizations that probably don't have a place to go?
Sure.
Please.
Mainly, the big difference for me, it's that you will find a mix of formality and informality. Like being an agent in the US, it's really easy. You get your license, you choose a brokerage, then you obviously choose a city where you will be focusing, do all your marketing, your personal brand, and then you will be deciding if you whether want to become the best listing agent as possible or become the better buyer representative as possible. Because sometimes in the US, you're not allowed to do 2 times, right? And represent. But when it comes about the informality that I'm saying, now it's when you start to understanding that in Mexico, the same agent can represent both clients. And it's not like in the US against, the regulations. So that's, first of all, a big difference. Second of all, is that Mexico is a big country, right? We are 120 million people. And sometimes they think that we don't have an MLS. We do. But because they are not well represented, and the informality takes you to have tons of agents, thousands of agents throughout the whole country who are not well trained, who do not have the license, because sometimes people tend to think that we don't have a license, but we do. We have 32 states in Mexico. Out of those 32, 23 already have regulation for real estate, and they will require the license. So when it comes about getting a property, it's really important that you are well represented, whether it's about selling or whether it's about, buying a property, because you will be going through a different path, just like in the US. So for instance, you should know that if you want to buy, because a lot of people in the US, Canada, are willing, or abroad, are willing to buy in the Mexican coast or close to the border because it's beautiful. Like so many different cities that you can find. They have to know that as a foreigner, then first of all, you are not allowed to buy a property directly. You need to buy it through a company or through a land trust. So that will be the first thing, that it's a big difference, right? Then as well, that they should know that if they once they want to sell the property, and a really bad agent will never tell this story. You can exempt taxes 100%, right? Depending on the value of the property, that's going to be, deeper. Go and talk to your agent. But depending on the property, you can exempt 100% of the tax once you sell the property. But you need to have the residence. And there are plenty of people that you don't need the residence to get a home and to buy a place in Mexico. You don't need it. So some people buy the property after 5 years, their plans change, they want to sell the property, but nobody explained them that they will have to pay now 20% of the value of the property. So that becomes huge, an amazing amount. So, and sometimes they get nervous. And what I'm saying to all of them, because I'm a broker owner. Before joining EXP, I was a well-known broker owner in Mérida, Yucatán, and we address and receive tons of people from abroad, like different countries, like Asia, US, obviously tons of beautiful American people that we love, but European people as well interested. So every time you have to explain about these legal matters, it's not a problem. You will be allowed to sell. You will be allowed to buy. You just have to know that it's a different step and different timing. Timing is as well important when it's about like buying in Mexico. Sometimes in the US, you do it really fast. And if you have the cash, boom, you just go to the title company. In Mexico, there's no title companies. We have the notarios. And the notarios, which is like this figure that is the notary in the US, it's a different one. Here, really, they work on the behalf of the government and they have the powers to represent the government. And they will be these big figures that they will be actually charging the taxes, right? So they could then later on pay them to the government. They will be the ones working on behalf of the government to really fully, check that the buyer and the seller are not, in bad things, in crime, stuff like that. So that's a big, big different situation as well that it changes. And like the inspections that in the US, a lot of people, love. Here we have a big norm. I love it. That is the 247 norm. That's a national scale. And they talk about these, inspections, but in reality, they will never happen. So a lot of buyers that come abroad from the US that are used to all these, steps, sometimes they say, hey, and where's the escrow account? And we do have escrow accounts, by the way. But you have to be sure that you're talking to the right agent, that he's well certified, that he knows the market, that he's well trained, that he's part of the member of the National Association of Realtors in Mexico, which is the longest one, and that is part of the NAR in the US as well. So they're like legal, fiscal things that makes us really different from the US. And when it comes about the representation, they should know that from the 100% of agents, sadly, just like 10%, seriously, are going to be professional agents. So you must know that you have to be really careful into knock the door on the right institution so you are well represented and you are not, as we say in Spanish, by oportunista inmobiliario, right? Which is a guy that is not a professional. He's not certified. He doesn't know about real estate agent. He was jobless, 2 days ago. And now he decided because, sometimes the informality in Mexico allow you to, that I'm a real estate agent now. But he doesn't know a hell. And he's going to obviously risk your investment big time. So beware. And that's one of the big things. But that's, how to be well assessed. Because we could be talking about how become an agent in Mexico is not as hard as a lot of people tend to think as well.
Yeah. That's very important because many of my friends I met, let's say, after they purchase in Mexico, they're going through some legal issues because either the development didn't finish, because they found them in Google, or they, found them like marketing themselves as opportunistic in the real estate space, but then the client is the one most affected. They lose money, they lose time.
They escape because they were not professional. Try to catch them, right? Try to call once again your agent. He's going to disappear. If this is not a real professional agent, boom, he's gone.
That's the most, like, the horror story number one that I hear in Mexico, especially in the Riviera Maya, that, there's so much volume of sales over there that everybody's an agent, but not everybody's in the, there for the best interest of the clients, and the clients stop losing money. And then they're getting disappointed with the country. I feel like...
And it's not the country. It was the agent. And to be honest, I will say something with all the respect, they didn't took the time to go with a professional, company and with a certified agent, because I know that they might think that it's just like in the US that everyone needs a license, but it's not like that. And if you're well intentioned to buy something abroad, it could be Mexico, Peru, Ecuador, whatever. You should first, get the information before you make any decision.
Yeah, I think it's, and not to play anything out of pocket, the buyer.
That is correct.
So, it's not like you have to, if you're going to go get heart surgery, go to the best surgeon instead of going to a person that is...
Or Google it.
So, yeah.
I'm always giving this explanation, right? Because sometimes in Mexico, like if you want to be the, someone to be your buyer representative, sometimes they will charge you just like in the US, yep. Right? So sometimes people, hey, but that could be for free and stuff like that. But what I'm suggesting is that if he's a guy that he's like, showing you that he has like all the information, all the knowledge, and he's in San Miguel de Allende, Los Cabos, Mérida, Mexico City, whatever, and he's going to charge you. And sometimes they will be refunding that amount sometimes, right? So just talk to them and be open, right? So because you will be really well represented and you will not struggle, just like you're saying right now, for someone that maybe just, decided that one day ago he was going to be an agent.
Yeah. So it's really sad sometimes that I see some people disappointed from the location. They didn't buy something that it was finished, it was supposed to be finished. Some of the finishes are not up to bar. Some of the amenities were removed. Access to the beach was removed. I had a case that I'm like, how can they just change one of the cases of one of the clients that they bought this location in Tulum because they had access to the beach club. And then when they had the keys, they're like, oh, no one no longer has that partnership with that beach club. And they have no access to the beach. And you know how it's Tulum, you have to pay to get into the water.
Awful, yeah.
And I was really disappointed because I was like, how can they just do that? And
They were buying.
They were buying for that amenity. So super mindful of that. Sometimes some agents don't know how the developer is going to evolve. But that's what at least with our team, we try to vet every single development to make sure that in the business for years, they have that track record that sometimes maybe somebody that just woke up and is a real estate agent, they just want a commission, getting it up. And that's, I think, most of the horror stories come from there. How would you describe, let's say, the process of becoming an agent? You mentioned that there's a license, there's some states that enforce it, but also it's not easy for the local agent that wants to do things right in Mexico because of
against the stream of formality.
Exactly. So that's formality, number one, and then number two, the etymology. Some agents that want to do things right, I want to share with their clients everything they have in inventory. Sometimes we cannot show them certain things because they have bad reputation, or because we don't have a system to pull all the data together to show that list. Have you encountered any of that with our groups, teams?
And I don't want people to get us wrong. This is really important. Like Mexico, it's a beautiful market. You just need to be in the right hands. Because Silo, for example, everything that you'll see in Silo, most of the times, like 99%, is going to be exclusive listing. But in Mexico, in our Viva Anuncios, La Mood, in all these portals, which are like the equivalent to Silo and the rest of them, you will find tons of, as we call them, options or open listing. And the open listing means that there could be 30 agents that have the same listing, and each one of them, they have it in a different price. And some of them, they don't even know the owner. And sometimes they don't even realize that property is not able even to sell because they have like a problem with the mortgage in the bank, right? So the thing is that with informality is that if you end up going into these places, sometimes without not knowing the market, once again, you will have struggle. And the thing is that sometimes it happened with me in the past as a broker, right? I received a beautiful family in Michigan. We went into the beach. They loved the property. They, pull it apart. Then they came back because it was a pre-construction. They came back to Michigan. Then they start just like triple checking because a lot of people likes to triple check, if they're, making a good investment. And they realized that they were finding the same exact property with 10 different prices, Natalie. 10 different prices. So they came back with me and say like, hey, Chuy, are you messing around with us? And they're like, no. What do you mean? Look at these listings. It's the same exact property, same developer, but different prices. And like, sadly, you are the highest, so what's happening? So obviously I went back, talked to the developer, and yes, this project was like 2 years before launch. So I talked, because I know all the guys in my city, I start talking to the brokers of each one of these companies. And they were just telling me, as within the beautiful informality of Mexico, that, oops, I forgot to update the price, Chuy, right? Yeah, but man, you forgot about updating this half a year ago. So this has increased, a lot of money. And now I'm on the eyes of my client thinking that I'm a liar or that I'm really bad advising them, which is not the right thing. So they should know, all the agents that are listening to us, or maybe if you're a potential client, that you should know that these things tend to happen. So don't feel that you're getting, robbed. You're not. If you're with a professional agent, they will be able to explain you all of this. So you won't feel that disappointed at this point. So that's one thing. The second one is that they should know the pre-construction process, that it's a different one from the US. And that sometimes when they deliver, sometimes they will have different stuff that are going to be struggling. And they have the typical guarantees that they will be fulfilling you in the next following 6 months and addressing all the issues. And sometimes these, tends to frustrate a little bit the buyer because they like to just go in, turn on the air condition and enjoy. And to be honest, the experience sometimes is not like that. And they have to be and realize that it's not going to be like that. So at least they know in advance, and they're ready to approach this in a good way, in a good vibe, really with a good mantra, so they do not get frustrated and really enjoy the whole, experience of living in a country which is different in the U.S.
Yeah. He's managing those expectations. Sometimes they're like, oh, everything's going to be perfect, have the best condo. But managing those expectations, meaning explaining to them ahead of time.
Yeah.
You might expect delays, you might expect this, some things might not be 100%.
It's about managing expectations. I love it. Yeah, I agree with that.
And I think we learned that over time because at the beginning you trust everybody, and maybe that was our mistake too. We trust the developers, and so you test them and work with them, and it has to go 2 years later because sometimes you don't know them, and 2 years later you get to know them, that real them, right? Because then you're like, okay, yeah, they have the best marketing team, they have a pitch, and you're like, oh yeah, that's amazing for my client, and then 2 years later you're like, oh my god, I don't know you want to be active this way, and then we're on the fire for them or to protect our client and fight for their rights. But as you said, the pre-sale, the construction, it's a whole different world that guys simply understand the risks at the beginning, the middle, and at the end.
And you were saying about the agents, so I do not forget that part as well. So if you want to become an agent, in the US, you need a license. In Mexico, there's license, but to be honest, the informality sometimes, you find thousands of people saying, I'm an agent, but
It's suggested.
but they're not even close to, right? But they believe they are.
Yes.
They are. So, but if you want to be a really good agent, you should get first your certification, which is 110.02. And this one is taught by different institutions, just like Harvard. And then you have the really bad institutions. In Mexico, you will find the Harvard ones, which most of the times will be offered by AMPI, the Mexican Association of Realtors. And then you have really good ones as well. But sometimes you will get other really guys that is just about business. So they will grant you the certification by just paying basically, right, the certification. So that those guys are not well prepared. So beware that the certification is important, but it's more important where they took that certification, right? Then second thing is that you can ask them definitely, hey, do you have your license? Can you show it to me? And they must have, their license, their approval by the government. Everything must be, in compliance. They could be part of the Mexican Association of Realtors, and they must have their membership as well. So show it to me. Then if you are a broker owner, then you must be an LLC, right? Because sometimes you will find a lot of people who say, I'm a broker owner, but in reality, they are like independent agent.
Yeah.
It's not a broker owner, right? And they don't have offices. They don't have anything whatsoever. They don't have contracts. So they could tell you through marketing that they're broker owners, but they're not broker owners. They're independent agents. So you could, keep up. And I'm not saying, and I have nothing against independent agents. They're really good independent agents. But sometimes you have this informality thing that it goes around. So my belief is that if you want to be a really good agent in Mexico because you are in the US, you're about to move into Mexico, obviously EXP could be an amazing opportunity to do that. Talk to us, send me a message, a WhatsApp or an email, and I will be coming back to you with all the team. But it's easy. It's get the certification. You need the residence to do that. You need to be part of a state that is complying with all the bylaws. And then, just like in the US or Canada or Portugal or Spain, become specialized in just one place, right? Start to knowing the market, go and talk to all the realtors, go to the open houses, start knowing the market. And from there, you'll be able to acknowledge as well the legal matters, so you can realize how to represent better your sellers or buyers. My suggestion is do not go alone. My suggestion is join EXP. But if you do not want to join EXP, fine, you're making a mistake, but at least go and work for a broker, right? Because they will be able to grant you and accelerate all the knowledge. Because if you want to go by yourself and you are not even from the country, then you will be struggling and you will be part of this informality, even though you come from a more well-developed country. So don't go alone. Don't feel alone. Become part of something great.
Yeah, no, I agree with that, because not only we have the challenges of lack of formality, lack of technology. Can you share a little bit of us with us? And you mentioned there's some MLSs, but also it comes with adoption. They can be adopting this search engine, right?
I love it.
But if they don't have many people using it, then they would have enough listings there. At the same time, they have a own share what we would have.
That is correct. So when you go to different cities, which they have like an international big interest, such as Los Cabos in Baja California Sur, they have their own MLS. If you go to San Miguel de Allende, which is this international market as well, they have their own MLS. Ajijic in Jalisco, their own MLS. If you go to, I'm thinking about there's different MLSs, right, throughout the whole country. But there's one that EXP agents have, which is Omni MLS. And through Omni MLS, you will find the exclusive listing, but listen up, not just for Mexico, Peru, Ecuador, all the countries. So it's really nice that you can get really validate exclusive listing. Who's the agent, who's behind all of it. So it's the best way to do business with a professional. So we always say, and you can just ask and request to your agent, hey guys, could you send me your MLS link so I could go? And there's no gonna be a rush, just like in the other like Zillow websites, in the local ones that I was saying, that everyone is like freaked out that they will be jumping and going with other agents. Through the MLS, all the listing, it's available for our potential buyers, and it's on your name, on your own brand. So it's beautiful. So you just have to tell your EXP agent, hey, I'm interested in Puerto Vallarta, in Mexico City, in Tulum, Riviera Maya, Mérida. I don't know. Mexico, seriously, it's a beautiful country.
Yeah.
And we are receiving tons of people who will want to be part of this, beautiful paradise.
And then this is very new too, right?
It's brand new.
Because when we started 4 years ago, we had to send like the developers, if you guys don't know about it, send us the drive. And then we have to dig through the drive to find the brochure. Then we had to find the pictures with some price sheets. So we had to go from so many sources. We waste half an hour per listing almost on getting that prepared for la fecha técnica, which you call it, to send it to the client.
Correct. Not or.
I would just wasted 6 hours preparing for one client, and maybe he might or might not like what I say.
No, now it's like all the shared listing. It's in Easy Broker, where we have exclusive listing and open listing, but now we have Omni MLS as an added value to all the value proposition of our agents within EXP national scale and Colombia, Ecuador. So go and ask them as well. Peru, there's all the listing down there as well. So it's a beautiful, when people tend to think that there's no MLS, yes, but you should be with a professional.
Yes, it's amazing. I'm glad that there's...
And by the way, this MLS is connected to 13 other MLS in the US. So all these agents, which is 500,000 agents, Omni MLS is not new in Mexico. It's new within our value proposition within EXP. So they have thousands of agents. They have thousands of listings. So they've been working in closing transactions. And actually, it's really cool how easy, you can now go into the website, look at the places, at the cities, and listen up. Like, prices will be in the local currency. For example, it could be in Colombian peso or in USD. And in different languages. Yes, it's in English, it's in Spanish, French, and soon in Portuguese. And by the way, if you want to go, for example, right, and you want to share like different information within the US, they can go as well. The California guys that have these, their own MLS, they can jump into our MLS and look at all properties, give us a call, and,
nice.
Close the deal.
Some more reasons to have more exclusives. So you can be the one that get in the call.
Yeah, I'm all about exclusive listing. I do always, tell our agents, and when they tell me that it's not feasible, I'm telling them, hey, I was an agent. I was a broker owner, and I know that it's feasible. My dad was an agent. My granddad was an agent, so you will not get close to the exclusive listing if you're not well-trained. But if you're well-trained, you will be more than qualified to get that exclusive listing. And within EXP, if you're thinking about becoming an agent, we teach you how. We have the contracts. We have the staff to help you out, so it's much more easier.
Nice. This is amazing for new agents that are entering the market. Do things right, get certified, or at least making sure you're doing the right thing.
And by doing that, you increase your business, your revenue.
Yeah, and then you need to automate or be part of a community that will help you not only learn, from the beginning, but also expand your marketing to other places.
Indeed. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much for explaining this to us. And, there's so many more nuances that we can cover in other interviews, but I want you to give the core of what is being an agent in Mexico. It's not as easy as some people think. They just moved there from Canada, from Chicago, and never be an agent in Mexico without knowing anything.
Takes time.
Because you're going to put your client at risk, and nobody wants to do that. You want that bad rep. We don't want that area, the area of Riviera Maya, who has been getting so much bad reputation right now because of all these, unofficial.
And the oportunistas inmobiliarios. And listen up, seriously, do not get us wrong. Mexico, it's a paradise. It's a safe place. You can go and invest. The cap rate is beautiful in different cities, but you should do it with the right agent. That would be my conclusion, because I don't want to think that it's not a good place. It's a beautiful place.
Love it.
Do it professionally, and you will be in heaven.
Yes.
In the real estate heaven.
Thank you so much, Chuy. This is great information. We're going to share this information, all the links to the description below, and we'll see you guys next time.
See you guys.
Thank you for joining us on the Real Estate Investment Nomad podcast. I hope today's episode has inspired you to explore new horizons in global real estate. Remember, the world is full of opportunities waiting to be discovered. And with the right insights, you can turn those opportunities into successful investments. If you enjoy the show, please subscribe, rate, and leave a review. Your feedback helps us bring you the best content possible. Don't forget to follow us in social media for more resources and updates. Until next time, my friends, this is NathalySalas, encouraging you to think big, invest globally, and transform your real estate journey. Safe travels and happy investing.